Hi, I'm Brian with eAdventist, and today I'm going to show you 10 things that eAdventist can do for your church, as well as a bonus preview of something that's coming very soon. One of the very first things that you'll find is on the person page. We want to enable text messaging, and so mobile phones now are verified. We have a service that will tell us if they are actually mobile phones, and if they are, you'll see a green check mark and the name of the carrier, like AT&T, Verizon. If it's not, you'll notice that it's a landline, and you'll realize why your text messages aren't being received. Something that's been in eAdventist for a while, but you might not be taking advantage of yet, is the photos. You'll notice that you can put in a photo of Fred himself. You can also put in a photo of his family. The family photo will be used in the printed church directory. Most churches tend to print color photos in a front section and contact information in the back section, and I'll show you how that works later. We do have an online photo directory that's going to be available very soon, an online church directory, and it will use the members photo. So that's something worth putting in there. And you notice that you can move it around, crop it, and save the photo so it looks the very best. So photos. Your church is probably no different than mine. You like to keep track of different people in the congregation, the ones that are the most involved, the ones that attend infrequently, people that have moved away but still have their membership with you, or people who are shut-ins. So we've added a category called involvement, and you can set those up for your church. And once they're set up, you just go ahead and pick. So Fred attends regularly. Let's save that. And now when you're sending out newsletters, pulling off lists of names, you can use the involvement category to filter your list down. Another thing that your church might be involved in is planting a new church. And so you have a group. The people who participate in a group are still members of the church, so we've added another field where they can record the mission group. So if Fred is involved in the Rock Fellowship group, we'll add that. And now it remembers that he's still a member, but he's part of the group. Something that makes that especially valuable is if I go to the church, we've recorded that Meadowglade is the mother church of the Rock Fellowship group. And now Fred is listed as one of the members. And so if you go to take a look at a list, you'll see Fred is there. And you can quickly print or export a list for somebody who wants to work with that group. All right. The last thing that you might find is that eAdventist just doesn't have something you want to do. It's unique to your church, or just not something that everybody needed. And that's where tags come in handy. Once you create tags, they're available for everybody at your church. And a lot of churches use this for small groups. So to create the tags, it takes you to the tags page. You can go ahead and set up a new one. And then when it's ready to use, we'll pop back to Fred. All we have to do to add him to the small group is tag him. And now when you want to send out emails, you can use tags to filter that down. If you want to create a directory and just include people that are tagged, gives you a lot of potential there. All right, let's show you the church directory that I've been talking about. It's under the reports and tools. You'll see directories. So most churches, like I mentioned, print a photo section in the front, and I won't spend any time with that. And that's so you can do your 4-colors stuff and invest your money in that. And then the back section is the contact information, and I'll show you that. So let's pull up the Meadowglade Church. Let's give it 3 columns. You have a lot of options. We'll add the email for spouses, but not for children. Mobile phones for spouses and primary, but not the children. And when you're ready, you just say print. And this is so easy that it's an extremely handy way to pass a fresh directory to somebody who's heading up a project at your church, one of your church leaders. You pull it up and you'll see it lists the primary and the spouse. Any children or grandparents that live in there will be listed underneath with the plus. Anybody who has an email or a mobile phone, it will list which person the mobile phone or the email goes with. So there's a church directory all ready to go. Alrighty. We've got some tools that will help you get to know your church better. And so what I'm going to do is switch from the demo site to the live site so you can see some live data. And you'll find this under the maps and graphs section. There's a bunch of different graphs you can do, a bunch of different maps you can do. However, if you're doing this for your church, rather than having to always choose your church for every map, we've added something to the organization page that makes things even a little more convenient. So if I go to the Meadowglade Church, you'll notice the Graphs tab pulls up all your this is your membership for the last 10 years. All of the graphs in eAdventist can be printed, just print, or you can save them as an image to drop into a slideshow, or you can view them full screen if you'd like. If you hover over any of these, you'll see the detail of what's in there. It's already showing at the top, so it's not quite as handy on this one. One where it is handy is if you'd like to see how people have been joining your church over the last 10 years, you can hover over any of these to see exactly how many joined by profession of faith, how many by baptism. And our graphs also allow you to take out specific components. So if I want to take out transfers and adjustments, the graphs will automatically adjust. Again, I can save that, stick it in a slideshow. If you want to see how people have been leaving your church, age is one that's quite interesting. If you'd like to see the age breakdown by 10-year groups, you can hover over any one to see the exact number as well as the percentage. Unknown. That's people who either didn't give you a birth date or didn't want to tell you how many birthdays they've had, so you put in 1800 for the year. It's our standard for unknown, so you can filter that out. The graph automatically adjusts, and you can see the age breakdown of your church. One of the really handy things, and even more vital now that we've gone through the lockdowns in 2020, is attendance. If you've been recording attendance, your church can print a graph for the last quarter. If you happen to have an early service and a second service, you'll see both lines here, and you can check for any given Sabbath and see exactly what your attendance was. So where do you record that? You record that right here under attendance. I'm seeing a lot. You'll see just your church. So what I would see if I was the Meadowglade Church is this. They haven't recorded any just lately, but all I would have to do is say record another attendance. Say the Meadowglade Church. Pick last Sabbath. And you can record the head count, the people that were in your building. And if you're doing a live stream, you can also record the online count. Once that's in there, it'll be available on the graph. It's saved where everybody can see it. Right now, it's the church clerk or the pastor that will need to do that. If your deacons are taking the count, they can just forward that to you. You probably have people, you hopefully and undoubtedly have people interested in your church that they're more friends than family. They don't attend regularly. They might have specific interests, like maybe a CHIP seminar or a financial peace or a stop smoking seminar that you did. Children that attended your vacation Bible school. Contacts is the place where you can record those. And what you can do is fill in as much information as they provide. You'll notice that if birth date isn't appropriate or they didn't choose to put it in, you can enter their age group instead. You can keep track of how they joined, whether they were a friend of a member, whether they attended a vacation Bible school. That'll be the source. And anything that they're particularly interested in, you can create interests for your church. So if you're offering financial peace seminars, CHIP seminars, you can put that in. If you'd like to keep track of things you've done with them, you can quickly create a note and have a record of all of the interactions. And one thing you can do is you can not only search for their name, but you can search for things in notes. So if I want to see everybody that I visited, it will show me the notes that had visited. Now, contacts, you can do even more than this. We're going to take a look next at messaging lists that allow you to email and text message to your members. This came in extremely handy for churches during the lockdowns and stay-at-home orders of 2020. It was hard to stay in touch with members, and those two features came in extremely handy. Not only can you send your messaging list messages to your members, you can also send them to contacts. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. It's under the reports and tools. You'll find messaging lists. I've got a messaging list set up here that's for my entire church, for Meadowglade. And when you set up a list and say it's for Meadowglade, everybody in the Meadowglade church who has an email address or a text mobile phone number listed on their member record becomes a potential subscriber. And all I have to do to add them to the list is just hit the plus and they will be added to the list. I use this list for testing, so I've only got just myself, so I don't blast my test stuff to everybody. If one of the emails happens to go to somebody who has a problem with their box, they gave you a wrong address, you'll notice that it will bounce and you'll be able to see that. They'll show up and you can take care of it. If somebody decides they don't want to receive your email, they have the option to unsubscribe, and you'll see them listed here. You'll notice that here's where you can subscribe your contacts. So once your list is built, now you're ready to start sending some messages. So when you want to send an email, all you do is pick a template. If you have things that you include regularly, you can save a custom template. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and start with the basic. So I can fill in the title. You'll notice we've got a variable here for first name, so eAdventist will automatically put the member's first name in to personalize it. You can announce what's coming up for the next week in your church. And when you want to add sections, like say you want to add some pictures, what you do is say add a block, and you can add an image. You can add two images side by side. Let's do that just for comparison. So I'll click on the image and let's pick a photo. I'll choose a photo of my puppy when he was small. And let's add another one here. Now, one of the things that eAdventist does that you might not be aware of is the majority of people are opening emails today on phones instead of on computers. They may open it on the computer too, but they're opening it on a phone. And if you just create a message and send it, it ends up looking really hard to read on a phone. The pictures become postage stamps. The text becomes really extremely small. So eAdventist is doing something that will help you. I do need to enter a subject. It will show you what your message is going to look like on a phone. You can preview it. And notice it's done something that's called responsive design. The photos, instead of getting small like postage stamps, just pop one above the other. The text just gets spread down farther but stays large enough to read. So your message is going to look great on a phone. You can even take this one step farther. Let's go back in and edit. There's an option for each of the photos. You can say I want it to be responsive on a mobile. And when I say that, watch what happens. Notice the photos have an even gap on both sides. They automatically fill the message. When you're ready to send, you can quickly send yourself a test if you'd like. And when you're ready to pull the trigger, you just say send. It'll let you know how many people it's going to, and you fire it off. As soon as that message is gone, you will, let's head back to our list. It hasn't been sent yet. If it had, I will show you what you would. I'm going to go over and take a look at one of our pastors in Bonners Ferry who's made great use of this during the pandemic and still doing it. So any message he has sent, eAdventist shows you how many have been delivered, how many have been opened. The open is not 100% reliable because people have the option to not send you that feedback. And I'll show you what he's able to do for his emails. Does a great job. So he's got a header, included a poem. He always has what's coming up this Sabbath, the Bible reading plan, any announcements, and the week at a glance, the link to the live stream, and their financial update, and a bunch of contact information. A great looking email. He can put this together very quickly with the editor and then send that off to his list when he's ready. Text messages. He's actually made great use of the text messages, and I'll just show you an example that he sent out for this weekend, announcing the potluck. Text messages get sent in what we call segments, and a segment is up to 128 characters. So eAdventist will allow you up to 2 segments for your message, so up to 256 characters. But it turns out that the best text messages are brief like this, just a few sentences, just a paragraph, a reminder, an announcement. You can include a link, but we discovered during the pandemic if you include more than one link, you do run the risk of the phone companies seeing you as spamming people and blocking your messages, and so the text messages don't get through. So ideally, you want to keep them brief and send them. Now, if somebody had replied to this, well, let me show you real quickly. When he wanted to send the text message, he has 2 options. He can come into eAdventist and he can create a message saying new text. However, he's also got an easier option. He is an admin for the list, so all he has to do is send a text message from his phone to his SMS number. eAdventist will recognize that it came from the admin of the list, and it will forward his text message to the entire church list. So texting your church is as easy as sending a text message to your SMS number. If one of the members happens to reply, they'll be replying to the SMS number, and eAdventist will forward that message to him. And I'll show you one you can see here's one that had 4 replies, and their replies show up. You want to be careful not to reply to them on your phone because text messaging doesn't allow a way to tell eAdventist that it's for one person. Text messaging is just really simple. So it would go to the entire list. So text messaging has been a huge help to churches during the pandemic. Well, that's our 10 things. And now I'd like to show you the bonus thing. It would be incredibly helpful if eAdventist could work on your phone, both for pastors and also for members, so that you'd have a church directory. And that's exactly what we're working on. So I'll give you a quick preview of that. And to make it look a little more realistic, let's switch from a PC view to a phone view. And I'm going to go ahead and sign in. As soon as you sign in, you'll see your church. If you happen to be a pastor who has multiple churches, there'll be a drop down and you can switch between your churches here. The rest of us will just see the name of our church, contact for the Facebook page, the streaming page, quick link to Adventist Giving. Your church will be able to put up a calendar of events so you'll be able to see what's coming up, and they'll have the option to put text messages that were sent to the entire church up here so they can reach people that didn't give their mobile phone number. Not only that, but if you go to your church page, you can quickly look up service times, all the officers. So if you need to contact the Pathfinder director, our Pathfinder director isn't listed there, but you can quickly look up their contact information. This is where it becomes especially helpful, is it's now an online directory for your church. So I'll look up my own information here. There's my contact information. If you wanted to get a hold of me, you can choose whether you want to send a phone call or text from my mobile. If you click on the phone link, it'll go directly to your phone number. If you click on the email, it will go straight to your email app and set up a message. If you click on the mapping link, if you're on an iPhone, it will pull up Apple Maps. If you're on an Android phone, it will pull up my house on Google Maps. There's my family. To help the clerks and to give members a little more flexibility, each member has their own profile with showing them the information that's available on eAdventist for them, and they have the option to edit and update that so they can change their address and be a help to the clerks. What's going to be especially powerful is you'll be able to assign tools to people in your church. So for example, I've set this up as though I had the attendance role and the pastor role. So if I was in charge of taking attendance for my church, I'll see the attendance that was taken last week, 243 in-house, 79 online. And as a deacon, I can quickly put in that we had 456 in person this time and 345 online, and that's been recorded. It'll show up in that graph. We're hoping to make this available within the next 2-3 weeks. We have a handful of churches that are beta testing it for us, and as soon as it's ready, we'll be announcing that. Well, thank you. Hopefully your churches can take advantage of those things. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. help@eadventist.net is the easiest way to get a hold of us. Thank you.